And the Edmonton Elks, they have their home opener down at Commonwealth Stadium. They fall to 0-2 on the season after falling to the Montreal Alouettes 38-28. Welcome to the Green and Gold postgame show live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thank you everyone for listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, watching on YouTube, or if you listen to this later on podcast, we appreciate you as well. Iwanyk and Jay Milne with you here. Lots to get to in this game, which I would say flatters the Elks more than it should in terms of what this final result is. They lose by 10. It really was a lot more. Lots to discuss on this show. Your thoughts welcome, 780-218-9999, or you can jump into the nasty chat as well. And actually, I'll just lay this. We'll hopefully hear from Mark Kilam post-game thoughts from him, if we can get some of that audio towards the end of this show. And Hernan Salas, we're going to try to connect with him. He was down at Commonwealth Stadium in the media center. We'll try to get Hernan's thoughts on this game as well. But Jay, before I get into my thoughts, what did you make of what we watched happen down at Play Alberta Field at Commonwealth Stadium?
There's so much to go over. I mean, this looked like the same thing we saw last week or in week 1 in BC.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw this out there right off the bat. If we say last week, we mean BC, week 1.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard with that bye week.
Forgive me. Offense couldn't sustain drives. Defense couldn't get off the field, at least for the majority of the game. Now, the fans were given an entertaining finish, or at least something that made you pause and say, oh, wait, what if they do this and then they go for this and then they hit this? And so, okay, I understand that. I would say that this game came down to coaching decisions.
You're going to go that this game came down to those. Okay.
100%. How can you not?
I have a different one on that one, which I'll get to, but I'll let you continue.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to get, that's just my summary.
No, because if I'm ranking where I go, the disappointment in tonight and where the fault lies, it starts with defense for me. But coaching is there. Good job, Vincent Blanchard, by the way, 2 for 2. Round of clicks.
Yeah, round of clicks for Vincent Blanchard.
We're not going to be talking much about you the rest of this day, which is a good thing.
As a kicker, you do not want to be talked about.
But we have to talk about coaching, and I'll let you continue here. But tonight, we saw a rookie head coach be a rookie head coach in my mind.
Yes. I mean, first off, I don't know. Am I getting ahead of myself, Matt? Should we just go over some things first, or should we just dive into it?
Let's dive into it. We've got an hour here to go through. We will talk defense. We will talk offense. Trey wasn't good enough today. There's a lot that we're going to slowly get to, but if we want to start with coaching, let's start with coaching.
I didn't like the pass interference challenge. The pass interference call on Bynum, that was challenged. I didn't like it. I mean, that was clearly challenged. If you had waited another 10 seconds, you would have had in your earpiece that, oh, that's not a challenge. That was pass interference. Okay.
It was never going to be overturned.
That was never going to be overturned.
It wasn't a great PI call, but he grabs the arm. You're not overturning that on replay. Zero chance.
The Elks, let me pull this up here.
And by the way, so that happens with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. The score at the time was 14-6. The fear was they're going to go score a touchdown here, and they're going to make it a bigger score than that. They ultimately only score a field goal. It's 17-6, but you lose your challenge for the rest of the game.
Okay, that was was that the start of the fourth? I'm just trying to find, Matt, when that short kick was, because
the short kick. So
that was the start of the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah. So this game, look, I don't think we're having a conversation about how close this game got if it wasn't for Davis Alexander getting hurt. Davis Alexander had his way with the Edmonton Elks defense tonight. He could do whatever he wanted. And then he got hurt and MBT came in and it was like, okay, there's a door open. And then the Edmonton Elks made it closer. At one point, it was 28-6.
They made it
28-14. Made it 28-14.
Justin Rankin made a beautiful
2-point conversion.
Right?
There was the onside kick was at 13-17 of the fourth quarter. So 1 minute and 43 seconds into the fourth quarter, a 2-possession ball game. You have basically the entire
easy 2-possession ball game
with MBT as quarterback.
This is not a 2-possession ball game where you also need 2-point conversion. This is a straight up 2-possession, 2-touchdown
with a regular
game.
extra point.
Kick that ball as deep as you can.
Yeah, I don't get that.
What are you doing?
It was a momentum killer.
Okay, I understand. You have to think of the other side, Jay. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's say they get that ball. Whoa, okay, that's great. But you know what? Montreal was waiting for that. That was not a team that was not expecting a short kick to be at least be on the table. Kick that ball deep. You're down 2 scores. McLeod Bethel-Thompson cannot move the ball on you.
Well, and I also have trust that your defense is going to go get that ball back from MBT.
That short kick, it just baffled me.
Because then what happens is the Montreal Alouettes recover at the Edmonton 42. They ultimately get a field goal and it's back to a 3-possession football game. But then it deflates.
Well, it nullified all the momentum that you had. Yes. You just came down the field. Trey Ford led a drive. They got a 2-point conversion. It is a 2-score game. I understand the highs of it, but you have to also appreciate the lows of if it doesn't go your way. Now, I understand later in the game they did get an onside kick. But at that time in the game, kick the ball as deep as you can. Why? It's too early to do something like that.
That's the thing. It's the fourth quarter. You have an entire fourth quarter basically to play. It's the CFL. You could get the ball back 3-4 more times without an onside kick, and instead you just made it more difficult for this comeback. It made 0 sense at the time. It's not a hindsight 2020. Well, the fact that they didn't get him 3 points. No, you and I both were like, why are you doing an onside kick there? For what reason are you doing an onside kick there? You kick that deep, you get the ball back, you then see what happens.
I understand why you would do that. I do
if there's less time on the clock.
But the high of getting the ball back does not equal the reverse negative of not getting the ball back, of handing the ball over to Montreal, essentially in scoring position, of which Serezna then takes which I thought was a terrible roughing the passer call. But those things happen in a football game. And boom, you get a field goal, and now it's 2.5 point score game.
3-possession game with 12 to go.
It just killed the momentum that was there. Not to mention, and I must point this out because Matt's getting to know me a lot more through especially being able to watch this at our studio by ourselves and not around anybody. I can yell and scream at the TV and say whatever I want. And I'll tell you one thing, Matt. I had concerns about Zach Mathis last week.
Oh, you're jumping to Zach. Okay, before we do that, actually. Well, I got to go back to coaching. We got to finish coaching.
Oh, you want to finish coaching?
Because there's one more thing that we missed, and that was if you do the math, it was 38-14 at one point. The Elks score a touchdown.
Curly Gittins Jr.
38 to 21
to 20.
But it's 20 at the time, and if you go for 2 and you get it, it's 38-22. If you go for a touchdown and you get a 2-point conversion again, it's 38-30. If you go down the field, get a touchdown 2-point conversion, it's 38-38. Now, there's 3 2-point conversions that are necessary, but you go make it a 3-possession game. At 38-20, by kicking a single, it makes it 38-21, which Rod Smith and Dwayne Ford talked about this on the broadcast. And I know Dusty texted to us in our group chat of EST afterwards as well. Well, now when you scored that touchdown, the most you can make it is 29, and it's still a 2-possession game.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't go for a 2-possession
when they did the drive before,
when they did for a 2-point conversion, there were like one thing you have to have as a coach is situational awareness, and you need to have game scenarios mapped out, and one of that would be the math of games. And in that scenario, Mark Kilam needed to know, well, if I go for a 2-point conversion here, and I go for a 2, and I go for a 2, I make it a 3-score game. If I only go for a 1, I'm making this, a 4-score game, including the one we just got. And that's a mistake. And then also, I just don't get the punt from the end zone. I know it's not changing this game, but it's 3rd and whatever from your 5. Just go for it. The game's over.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Why are you punting? Why is Cody Grace going on the field down 10 at all? Like, what if you somehow score? There's a break in coverage, you get a touchdown. You have maybe one more shot. I don't get the punt. So that's a small one there for me. But Mark Kilam had a rough game as a head coach, from the challenge to the short side kick or onside kick too early to not doing the math with his 2-point conversions. A rookie head coach was on display tonight. You want to get to Zach Mathis.
Look, at the end of the first half, it was 24-6. Trey Ford breaks out of the pocket, underthrows a ball. I understand that.
It puts too much under it too. Like a lot of loft on it.
But it's 24-6.
Yeah.
The Elks can somehow score there. It makes it 24-13. That's a good situation to be, considering how much Alexander Davis carved you up in the first half.
Davis Alexander.
Or David.
Don't worry.
I always do that.
Well, because the CFL stat page has it as Alexander Davis right now.
No, but I've always called him Alexander Davis. Anyways, Zach Mathis. And I went off on this on Twitter because Zach Mathis is 6'7". That's his thing. Oh, big target, big hands, can get up, can fight off defenders. Zach Mathis is throwing a ball that should be his and gets intercepted by a player that's 6'2". All the while, Zach Mathis is sitting like this, waiting for the ball to come down to him. I'm sorry. That is not good enough as a professional football player. Go up, attack that ball at its high point. Look like you give a damn. I could not believe that. And you heard some things come out of my mouth that have nothing.
Not happy with him.
That have nothing to do with any Elks, Als. Not. That's just a terrible, shitty play by a receiver that should do better than that.
Well, yeah,
that is a player that gave up on that and said, "Oh, look, this ball's coming to me." No, Zach, what have you been taught and what have you been taught as a tall receiver? Go up and get the ball. That's your thing as a 6'7" receiver. You cannot stand there and wait for the ball to come to you. You must assume that somebody's coming to take your dinner from you. Go up and get the ball and look like you care about it. I'm sorry. That just, I guess in a nutshell, that kind of summarized the first half. I had to laugh at that after you realize, okay, whatever, it is what it is. I had to kind of have a chuckle about that because that summarized the lackadaisical approach that this team gave in the first half. I'll give them credit. They turned it around the second half, but I'm sorry. That's just not good enough from a professional wide receiver that's 6'7" that should go and attack a football.
Yeah, you go take that football, make it a touchdown. Worst case, that should be then knocked down. Do not allow the defender to come and just take that football from you with ease and have an interception. At the worst case, you should have been able to knock that down. It's 24-9 because you kick a field goal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as your point, like you're a receiver, you're a big receiver, snag that football. Just take that football. And what a difference game that would have been if all of a sudden we're going to halves going, it's 24-13.
Yeah. Think of the momentums, right?
Wow. And what a rough half for the Edmonton Elks.
Exactly.
But they're only down 11.
Right. Think about the momentums that we talked about in week 1 against BC about how Blanchard left points on the table, right? And how that shifts and affects the mentality of the team. Think of the Elks running off the field at halftime, getting that last-minute touchdown, of which Trey did a great job eluding the pressure, threw a ball up there. It should have been a touchdown.
It was catchable. Because some people and look, the ball, there was a little too much air under it. And he did have Mathis that if he sends it into the back of the end zone, Mathis probably goes and gets it. It's a touchdown. But it's a catchable football. And Zach Mathis is that tall receiver. He's now got to go make that play too. And he didn't. And it's the Elks. Look, I'm not going to take anything away from the Owls today because the Owls were the better football team. Just straight up, they were the better football team. But the Elks find ways to just stub their toes along the way. Yep. They just want to make things more difficult for them. And I'll stick with the offense here before I get to the defense, because to me, the defense was the issue for tonight for me. They're the ones that I'm going to look at and go, just, it's not good enough. But, O-line, David Beer goes down injured late. That's going to be a concern. The O-line did play better, but still not at the level that I want to see this O-line play, and it's not the level we saw from the O-line last year of the Edmonton Elks. Trey was better at times than BC.
Sure. You can't deny that.
But he also, like, I'm not seeing the growth that I want to see from him yet going into this season. I'm like Davis Sanchez on the TSN broadcast went through, sometimes Trey just not focusing on that first, he has that open first target and he just passes over it. Just some of the ball protection. Even so, like, it's weird. You're intrigued by some of the tight windows he chooses to throw to, but they're complete. They're right to his receiver. And then you have plays like Gittins Jr. running down the sideline. He has him on 3rd and 2, and he misses him by 10 yards. Like, Trey needs to be much more sharp. He has to be sharper with that. But on this as well is, I am not a fan right now of Jordan McSimick's offense. I will give Jordan McSimick credit for one thing. He did have a commitment to the run. He did try establishing the run. Often he went first down with the run. If we look at in terms of rushing attempts, Justin Rankin had 12. Javon Leake had 6. 18 carries tonight. That's pretty good, especially with a team that was trailing as much as the Elks were today. To rush the ball 18 times is pretty solid. So I'll give him that. But there was a play, I think, before the interception. I think this was that drive where there was a wide receiver screen to Gittins Jr. For a big gain.
What happened?
Good yardage. Who's been calling for screens?
Yeah.
This guy right to my right.
Yeah.
Jay Milne.
They ran one all night.
And that was the only one. And it was successful.
Mm-hmm.
You said to me at one point, have they thrown anything down the middle of the field?
Nope.
Really nothing. They eventually threw one to Stephen Dunbar. It was caught.
First down.
Good yardage. Didn't do it again. And again, I don't know how much of that's Trey not looking at his receivers there or how much is the play calling from McSimick, but it seems too much to the outsides. It seems too much to the sidelines. And I find Jordan McSimick came in as this offensive coordinator guru, and indeed he has been in the past. I have yet to see it, though, at least in the passing attack. I have yet to see it so far. And Trey needs to be better, but Jordan McSimick needs to call a little bit of a better game. I'm not sold on this right now. Like, even just tonight, we saw a few more deep balls. Let's keep going with those.
But why? Okay, but let's focus on that, Matty. When did we see all the deep shots? The fourth quarter.
Yeah.
When they were down.
Yeah.
Why not be aggressive like that in the first quarter? Right? You run like you could run the ball. You proved that tonight. I mean, what did they end up with? Justin Rankin, 12 for 76. I hit Jay's play of the day by 1 yard. Javon Leake, 6 for 41. They rushed the ball 18 times. And look what they got. 137 yards.
Well, that's with Trey.
No.
76 and 41.
Oh, sorry, 117 yards.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you were adding Trey in there.
But hey, man, if you can have 2 rushers, 18 rushes for over 100 yards,
that's great.
You're winning.
Yep.
That's a good thing. I mean, you look at Trey's final numbers. 27 of 36 for 308 yards, Matt. 1 interception, 2 TDs. If you look at the right side of the stat page, you would assume that the Elks won this game. Would you not? Just off the offensive stats. The problem is
if I'm looking at Davis Alexander's number, that's the only thing that changes that.
The problem is all those numbers came.
They fixed it.
Trey's number, or at least most of Trey's numbers, came in the fourth quarter,
which is, and it's hard. It's garbage time, and it's hard to praise some of what we saw. But maybe, and Dusty was in the nasty chat, and I quickly want to run through some of the nasty chat before we get to the defense. But he goes, "How much do the fourth quarter points mean? Like, how much do they actually mean? I'm not sure, but at least it was something for the offense. So maybe for film session in this upcoming week, the Elks offense could sit there and be like, hey, look, we can score points. But I've just seen too much garbage points over the last number of years with the Elks that I just don't care as much. Like, they did have a shot. It was a 2-score game, 3rd and 2. I guess at that point, Trey Ford needs to hit. I think that was Gittins Jr. down the sideline. He was open. He needs to hit that one. And then we're talking about potentially of a 1-possession game with 1:30 to go or something and seeing what happens. So I guess maybe the compete that they came back so close is something to look at. Some of the other comments into the nasty chat. Big Uke, well, it got exciting. If you could play that fourth quarter throw to game hot damn, sounds eerily familiar to the Oilers' third periods. Steven, that early short kick was a crazy choice, like pulling Skinner with 10 minutes left. Johnny Alberta, 28 points versus the Owls is not disgraceful, but this defense is. Kelvin Van Dasselaar, disappointed in the defense after 2 games. Russell, Hirsch. Trey had some untimely mistakes tonight, but the question isn't if he makes them tonight. It's if he's still making them mid-season at the end of the season. Well, if he's still making them at mid-season, he won't be making them at the end of the season because Cody Fajardo will take over this team. But I get your point. Like, there is still going to be those growing pains, but I need to see more from Trey now. I need to see a little bit better development from Trey, not coming in garbage time. I need to see a little, and I'll give one thing before you jump in and then we get to the defense. I did like how the Elks defense or offense started. Got the ball to start. First drive,
field goal.
6 plays, 37 yards, got a field goal. Nice little, got the run game going a little bit. There you go. That's what I wanted to see. Even when they came out, for the third quarter, their first possession in the third quarter, 5 plays, 12. They got a first down. Like, it wasn't a 2-0. How many 2-0s did they have today? Their second possession was a 2-0. Their third possession was a 2-0. Their second last possession when they punted for no reason in their end zone was a 2-0. So they only had 2 2-and-outs today, which is, it's nice. A little more of rhythm and flow was developed, at least with the offense, but still not good enough.
Okay, we'll get it. We got to talk about that later. About, is this an improvement on week 1? Okay, but before we move on to the defense, are you finding it, I don't know if frustrating is the right word, but do you find that Trey Ford is leaving the pocket and evacuating a pocket too early?
I don't know, because sometimes I feel like, the pocket's collapsing, get out. But there was the one play, is that the one where he fumbled that you didn't like?
The strip sack.
Yeah. Where you said he left the pocket
11 minutes
soon.
left in the fourth quarter.
And then when he threw one of the touchdown passes, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Julian Grant.
Yeah.
He stayed in the pocket.
Yep.
And he hit the player.
Now,
and I wonder if that's something that is going to be pointed in film sessions this week is, Trey, look, this is what happens when you leave the pocket. This is what happens when you stay. Trust your alignment. Trust the pocket.
But I wonder, you look at some of the people that are in front of him, and Trey's listed at 6'1" as a player. I don't actually think that's true. I stood beside the guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I stood behind him.
I'm just saying, is that something that they're going to, because even when Trey is in the pocket, you see this, I'll use my left arm so you can see it on screen, but you see this kind of quasi sidearm release because he's trying to throw through people, not over people. So and if he's in the pocket and he's taking the deep shots, that's because that's what's available to him and what he can see. He may not be able to see the stuff that's, the over-unders that are maybe 10 yards in front of him. He's waiting to see, or can only see something that's deeper down the field. I thought that was interesting tonight. I certainly think, Matt, that this offense does not, at least in the passing game, does not challenge the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. There was one play that Davis Alexander had tonight where he threw it to the middle of the field, and there were literally 3 Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah.
One guy had to duck because he knew he was just a dog route, and there was somebody deeper down the field. There was 3 Alouettes in the center of the field that were wide open. We did not see the Elks challenge inside the hashes once. Even that play to Stephen Dunbar Jr., although everything was to the sideline.
Yeah.
You're not going to turn those into big plays. Like, look at Philpott. They ran 2 wide receiver screens in a row in the third quarter that went first down. Inside. You're not going to make game-breaking plays by throwing 5 yards out to Zach Mathis or Dunbar. The one time they came somewhat inside was to Dunbar. It was a 12-yard completion. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing positive things from this offense. Okay? You can't deny that. I know a lot of this came in the fourth quarter, but when you look at how they were able to rush the ball, a combination of Javon Leake and Justin Rankin, Maddie, that is a positive. That is a positive that they piled up more than 100 rushing yards tonight. Unfortunately, I think in some instances they got in their own way. as a coaching staff, as play callers, and what could have been a closer game as players. I mean, I seriously, that play at the end of the first half, it really bothers me looking at this as someone that's analyzing this game. That changes the game going into halftime massively if you just do your job as a wide receiver. So now, are these fixable? Yes, certainly. Offense is about timing, rhythm, and play calling. So I certainly think these can be changed and fixed. But I mean, next week you're going 1 week from today, 7 days from today, you're going into Winnipeg, and that's not going to get any easier.
No, the Elks don't do well in Winnipeg, and we'll see what Winnipeg does this week. But based on their first game, that just the defensive wise, Trey's in this offense is going to have a very difficult time. The other thing I will say on the offense before I move on is also I sometimes like just the Trey Ford rolling out, and we saw it once, and it was a huge gain. And so I think right now, while Trey is getting comfortable to this pocket with this O-line, and the O-line is settling in for the season, I think you need to mix in a little bit more of Trey Ford rolling outside, because the one thing about Trey Ford rolling outside is if you're a defense, you're going to sit there and be like, is he running here? And you might have those people that just step up a little bit towards Trey, and maybe that receiver gets open that he can go find and he could go hit. My dad is in the nasty chat, unless it's my mom randomly. I don't think my mom would have this thought. But just remember, this is the third OC for Trey in a year. McAdoo, Jackson, and now McSimic. It'd be almost 2 years though. McAdoo was 2 years ago. He was let go. Last year he would have had Jarius Jackson the whole season.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking,
McAdoo was let go, and then last year Chris Jones was let go. So it's a season and a half in a season and a half. Kind of that it is his third OC. Again, I believe that's not my dad, not my mom. If it's my mom, I'm stunned that she has that insight. My mom, I didn't know she was that big into the Elks offensive coordinators.
I'm going to get into some of the texts that have come in so far, Maddie. Before we get on to the defense,
please, because I want to get on to the defense.
Send us in what you think, what your thoughts were on the game. Hit us up at the ESCN box 780-218-9999. Chris Sadaway says, way too many what ifs in the last quarter. What if they don't try to execute an early onside kick? What if Ford hits Gittins with that 1/3 down play? What if they actually attempted and succeeded with a 2-point attempt with their second last touchdown? I understand that. Coach Mike, tough game, sparse crowd, 0-2 start, not ideal. And Super Mario, conch for Tommy G for some in-game reporting. I thought Tom did an excellent job. It's always nice to see someone you know on the sidelines, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody blamed Tom's hair for Curly Gittins Jr.
That he stopped running.
Right, yeah.
I wish we could say that, but the ball was overthrown. Sorry, Big Uke.
Andrea, Tommy rocking the sidelines. Agreed. Looked good out there. Oh, she sent a picture. Nice suit, Tom.
Oh, that train horn is really close. Can you hear it right now?
Yeah, I don't know. We never hear this during the day. It's the night. Hey, these are the nights of the dinner theater district.
I like that.
And even when we move,
we're still in the dinner theater district.
I think we should really lean into the dinner theater district.
Once you guys once you and Reed build the screenplay.
Yes.
We can really get into that. Okay, I got to get to the defense here. Because this game, everything we're talking about late in the third into the fourth quarter, I don't think matters.
Can I tell you that right now, already, I don't even know what you're going to say. I might disagree with you.
I don't think it matters unless Davis Alexander doesn't get hurt. Like if Davis Alexander is healthy, it doesn't matter. Why? Because this defense struggled mightily tonight. This defense had a rough night.
That's like that's the point. That's the one thing. Is the only reason I think they got back involved was because Davis Alexander went out.
Yeah, because MBT was put in that football game and it wasn't Davis Alexander. Davis Alexander, if the Sacramento Gold Miners were looking for the health of Davis Alexander. But Davis Alexander's one where he's, he is making a case as being one of the top quarterbacks in this league already.
What did I say as soon as he went down to you? The game was out of hand.
On.
I said, game on. It's not over now.
That goes why the short kick from, like, if Davis Alexander was in that game,
I know,
and Mark Kilam did the short kick, I'd understand. I could sit there at that point and go, you did not want to give Davis Alexander the ball. But it was MBT. But I'm just going through the first half here. This is the drive chart of the Montreal Alouettes on offense. They get the ball, they drive 70 yards, touchdown. Second time they get the ball, they march 91 yards, touchdown. On that first drive, by the way, 3 of them, 3 second and long almost converted. Well, 2 second and long conversions, 1 got to third and 1 they converted. But touchdown. Next drive, punt. Next drive, field goal, but they got to the Edmonton Elks 3. Next drive, 65 yards and a touchdown. The Edmonton Elks defense had 0 answers for Davis Alexander and the Montreal Alouettes, mostly passing attack, but rushing attack as well. That, like, the Edmonton Elks come out, get 3 points to start this game. There's something to build off of. The Elks getting the Montreal Alouettes into a second and long on their very first series. After the Owls get the ball and incomplete first play. It's 2nd and 10. It's 3-0. You go off the field, man, what would happen here? Maybe Trey in the offense could go like, could we be? Instead, convert and just allow them to march down that field for a touchdown. 5 drives in that first half, 3 touchdowns, a field goal. They drove to the Edmonton 3 in that one, though, and a punt. This defense is not good enough. And that's the scary part to me right now is they cannot get stops. They can force second downs. They can force 2nd and 5s and longer, but they're not. Again, how many sacks tonight? How many sacks did the Edmonton Elks get tonight? I think I know the answer to this one.
0.
No, they got 1. They're listed as 1. Nick Taylor.
Yeah, late in the game. That's right.
But it was on MBT, I believe.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Davis Alex, but they get 1 late on MBT. It's just not good enough. I don't like the offensive struggles that they have. It won't matter because no one could sit here and expect the Edmonton Elks offense to go put up 40, 45 points, 38 points. But that's what they're going to have to do with this defense because this defense has struggled now through 2 games stopping teams and not allowing them to march down the field at will and surgically. And that's why, to me, that's the biggest concern tonight. Mark Kilam's decisions wouldn't have mattered because if Davis Alexander, if he was healthy, because if he was in there, he would have still got his touchdowns. And the Elks wouldn't have even come close to this one.
Is that the difference, though, Maddie? Is that the difference between having a capable and confident pocket passing quarterback as opposed to not? Let me tell you something. At halftime, the second down conversions, right? Your ability to convert on a second down. Montreal was 7 for 10. Edmonton was 4 for 11. You know what it ended up being? Montreal 11 for 21. Edmonton 13 for 25. That's 52.4% to 52%.
So you're saying if they go up against a quarterback with legs, they're going to struggle?
Or if, now, I don't want to get back to the offense too much, but does Edmonton have a capable quarterback? Does Edmonton have a quarterback that is going to sit in the pocket, stand in the pocket, and deliver the ball downfield? Like they just saw.
But Davis didn't do all that tonight.
Davis did that.
He ran too. He had a couple runs.
I know, but Davis was distributing the ball around to his receivers.
Oh, okay.
In the limited time,
he's also got better receivers. Well, I'm just going to put that one out there.
You know what? I don't really buy that. I mean, if you
don't buy that Austin Mack and Tyson Philpott are better than Stephen Dunbar and Curly Giddens Jr.?
Maybe marginally.
Not marginally.
Yeah,
Tyson Philpott's the number 1 receiver on this team. Austin Mack's the number 2 receiver on this team.
If you have a quarterback that can put the ball in their hands, and I mean, you look at the quarterback to or the deep ball, Bynum when it's in coverage, Snead, the deep ball, wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could throw that, right? That's a breakdown. I understand that. That's going to happen. But when I'm talking about Trey being able to distribute the ball to all his receivers, which he started doing.
Yeah, but
I mean, is that play calling? Is that the time of the game because it happened late and it? I mean, but
that doesn't take away. But again, this conversation started with the defense, and the defenses didn't do enough. They were atrocious in stopping defenses.
But is Davis Alexander that good.
Yes.
So when is this defense going to run into a quarterback that's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is the Edmonton offense make every defense look really good. Now, is that because...
Do they make every defense look really good?
Well, they have.
Well, they've only played 2 teams this year.
Right. But
and
I mean,
Trey
if it
has
wasn't...
made defenses look bad in his career.
Heading into the fourth quarter, the Edmonton Elks had 6 points, Matt.
I know.
They scored 22 points in the fourth quarter in somewhat half garbage time.
Sure, but how many points did they give up?
14.
At that point.
Oh, in the first half, 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I didn't come into this season expecting the Elks to be this high-powered offense. I didn't expect them to be the highest scoring team in the Canadian Football League. I'm not expecting that. And that's why I look at the defense and I go, you've given up 24 points in the first half because you can't get stops. I don't care about the offense right now at this point. It doesn't matter. Because I don't want to... defenses win you championships too. I don't want a defense out there that's going to be giving up 30-plus points every single game. And right now, this Edmonton Elks defense is going to be giving up 30-plus points in every single game because they can't get stops against good quarterbacks. And maybe it comes down to the quarterbacks that can be mobile because Rourke and Davis Alexander were able to run on them and get some of those first downs. Well, there's some other quarterbacks that could do that in this league, but maybe they'll have better success against the Zach Collaros who could only be in the pocket. Maybe they'll have a little bit better success against Trevor Harris, who could only be in the pocket. They will not. Maybe they'll have more success against Bo Levi Mitchell, who could only be in the pocket. They will not have success, though, against Chad Kelly. They will not have success against Vernon Adams. They will not have success against Nathan Rourke. They will not have success against Davis Alexander.
Fair. I think, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to juxtapose the team that the Elks defense is going against compared to... Did you hook that? Is that hooked up to your computer?
Well, now I forgot what our passcode is. Got it. Well, I'm going to call Hernan right away here, and we're going to speak to Hernan on air, but we don't have a producer to call. So
okay. Cool. I'm just trying to present. Okay, let me ask you this flat out: is Trey underperforming or overperforming on expectations of him coming into this season?
He is not. He's underperforming this season.
Vastly.
Yes. There's not a single person.
Not even...
He's at this moment, I would say he's regressed more than he's been what I saw from much. He's regressed at this point. But you see the flash, like even those tight window throws, like he has the ability to hit his receivers in tight spots. He has the accuracy. He has the arm. He shows it. But now why can't he do it more often is the question. And like to the pocket thing. Why isn't he trusting his offensive line to stand in the pocket? Is it because they've broken down for 2 games? Or is that just in his head? Like, I don't know. But he's got to learn how to stay in the pocket a bit more.
Or if that's not the case, it's a good thing you can't hear what number you're dialing. This is great. We don't have anybody here to help us.
I just didn't know we were connected on Bluetooth already.
Oh, that's okay.
Continue with what you're saying.
Well, if that's the case, then get him out of the pocket, right?
Well, that's why
roll him out, move him around,
and that's where Jordan
move
McSimic
things around.
It's causing me like I'm not sold on Jordan McSimic right now.
I mean, we must have seen 3 or 4 wide receiver screens from Montreal tonight. With Edmonton, there was only 1. This is excellent. He's good. He's on hold.
Well, I don't know if he's on. Like, I don't think I fully put hold. I don't know how to use this one for hold.
This is great. So Hernan's joining us?
Well, I think we're gonna have a guest on the show.
Oh my God!
Should we give this a try? I got to see if we've got this. If he's on the phone, Hernan Salas, do you hear us? Oh, he says I can hear him through the phone, but not through us. Give me a second, Hernan.
We're gonna try. We're gonna
give this a try. I'm not used to iPhones. That's the problem here.
I am. What do you need me to do?
You continue with your thoughts there.
All right. So I mean, but if you look at what Davis Alexander did, I mean, he was amazing in the first half. 15 of 18 for 210 yards, 3 TDs. Trey was 8 of 11 for 49 yards, an interception. But they were running the ball, right? So we got to look at pros and cons coming out of this game, which I know we'll get to. But
you hear that clearing of the throat?
I am excited. I mean, Matt,
that means we've got a guest. on the Green and Gold post-game show. Hernan Salas, host of EST Afternoons right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, 1 until 3, Monday through Fridays with Walking Gauge. Nanso, how are you? How was Commonwealth Stadium? What was it like being back at Commonwealth as a member of the media?
Yeah, it was weird. The media center is really tiny, and every seat was used in that media center today. It was nice to see, actually, very nice to see, and good to watch football from there once again. It's still the best seat in the house.
We'll start. Just your thoughts on the game tonight and how the Elks performed.
Yeah, boys. I mean, you guys are spot on with your analysis. I mean, I'm surprised the defense struggled as much as it has. You saw some changes. You saw Rugamba get beat for a touchdown. You saw in the second half, I think it was Garnes who went in on a few reps for Rugamba. You saw Dublanco get mixed in during the second half as well. And then the offense, guys, I mean, it remains an issue. 29 yards passing in the first half, that's not going to get it done, guys. You got to be better. And, good for Vincent Blanchard, probably one of the few positives. But, guys, I'll just say this. I know people get excited about what happened at the end of the game, but, I mean, Maddie, you and I have watched a lot of football. Jay, you played at a high level. Those moments, and we've seen a lot of them here with the Elks in the last 4 years. I mean, it's garbage time points, garbage time plays. There's a lot of prevent defense. It's great. It's good for looking at the stats after, but guys, when it mattered, the offense couldn't make a play. The defense couldn't make a play.
What did you make of the short kick from Mark Kilam early in the fourth quarter? They make it a 2-possession game. They get to 2-point conversions, 28-14. He goes for the short kick, and immediately Montreal gets the ball in their field position. What'd you make of the play? What'd you make of that decision by Mark Kilam, and overall just Mark Kilam's game as the coach today?
Yeah, that decision is mind-boggling. I remember looking at Swain Dog, who was in the media center as well, and I said, why are they onside kicking it with 13 minutes left down 2 scores? Like it, and I don't know who said it. It was either one of you guys said it, obviously. But today it showed that Mark Kilam is still a rookie coach. Some head scratchers for sure, boys. The punt there, Maddie, you're alluding to at the end. I mean, like, what do you have? Like, you got to go for it, man. Like, what are we doing? But the onside kick is just that's a. I don't think I've seen that in the CFL in a while, guys. An onside kick with 13 minutes left down, 2 touchdowns. Like, it's the CFL, boys. You could have both teams score 3 touchdowns in 13 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a whole football game to be played still in the Canadian football. Like, there's just so much time. It's still just, I think that is one of the biggest momentum killers for me. Jay?
Hernan, do you think that's ultimately what this game comes down to is, if you could say it in one word, decisions? You know, I mean, you saw that early challenge. You had when Curly Gittins Jr. hit that touchdown and made it 38-20. You would, on the previous score, you had already went for 2 points. So now, why are you calling off the dogs and going for a single point? Do you think that summarizes this game? Is decisions?
I definitely think it's part of it. I truly do, because I just go back to guys like, what was it? The TD, punt, field goal, TD for the Montreal Alouettes. Like, that's before any of these decisions happen, right, guys? So Davis Alexander was dealing. He couldn't get him off the field. They couldn't get a stop. And then, like I said, the offense, guys, like, man, like a lot of passes to the sideline for 5-6 yards. The one thing I did like, they did run the ball, but I think decisions became a part of it in the second half. But I think in the first half, you just have to flat out say the offense and defense weren't even close to the Montreal Alouettes.
For you, Hernan, what are the positives for the Elks today? What do you, like, if you're in that locker room, if you're Kilam, what are you looking at and telling the guys next week that, like, these, look, we did these things right? What would you look at as the positives for the Elks tonight?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I already said it. I think you look at a young kicker who struggled mightily in week 1 and was able to bounce back today. I think, sure, it's garbage time, but at least the offense got a little bit of confidence. They know they can throw that long ball now. You gotta also think, what was Montreal? What kind of defense were they playing? Were they just kind of, feeling fat and sassy and just chilling back there? Like, who knows, right? So, sure, you can look at garbage time and say they got a little bit of momentum. I think Rankin was good, guys. I thought he was a positive for sure. He had a couple big runs. I like that they didn't go away from the run. But outside of that, guys, I don't think there's much else. Again, the defense, when Alexander went down and MBT came in, that changed the whole dynamic of their offense. They weren't even close to what they were in the first half. So the defense, sure, they got a couple outs there, but the defense just couldn't get a stop. And that's the concerning part, guys. And that's 2 games in a row where you can't get stopped. Now, in fairness, you played Rourke and Davis Alexander right now, who are probably – you can consider them top quarterbacks in this league. So, but you got to beat them, man. You got to find a way. So, not a lot of positives, Matty.
Hernan,
how about you guys?
Well, I was just going to ask, is it fair to say that from 2 weeks ago, week 1 in the loss to BC to this week, there were improvements, noticeable improvements? And the second part of my question is, do you think they can keep improving and going into Winnipeg, fix these issues? Are these issues now fixable, Hernan, or do you think that this is just something that maybe they just don't have the horses that we thought they did?
That's a great question, Jay. I don't know if they improved from game 1. Because I look at the first half, and that's the big one to me, because you're coming off in a bye week. You got a whole week to prepare. You had a week off. There's no excuses. There's no fatigue. You had time to continue to learn the playbook and get to know your teammates. So for me, that first half was concerning, because it just continued on from the second half against the BC line. So I don't think they improved, because again, guys, it's garbage time that they finally started to put some things together. And MBT came in, and he's a good CFL quarterback, but he's not Davis Alexander, and the offense changed for them. So, I mean, I hope they can improve, guys. I truly do. They're going into Winnipeg. They haven't won there in years. I think they're on an 11-game losing streak to the Bombers. The Bombers look fantastic with Chris Trevler. Now they get Zach Colaros back. I do believe this team will get better as the season goes on. There's just far too much talent on it, guys. But, Matty, you said they got a sack today from Noah Taylor, but that's it. And that's a garbage time as well. Not a lot of sacks, no INTs. So I look at it, and I think they will get better. But, guys, if I know we bring up, there's 8 new starters on defense. Calgary has 12 new starters. Yeah. And they're 2-0. So I think we got to stop with the excuses. There's a lot of veterans on these team, guys that have won. So at the end of the day, for me, it's time to start, playing better and scheming better and coaching better and start picking up some wins, guys, because I'll tell you this, it doesn't get any easier after Winnipeg either. I mean, Ottawa's not a cakewalk, I don't think. And then you get BC and I think Sask. This is going to be tough, boys.
Winnipeg, Ottawa, BC, Sask, Hamilton, Montreal again.
I will say this, with what I've seen, I can see them beating Ottawa. I can see him being Saskatchewan, actually, as weirdly as that is. I'm not worried. Trevor Harris is a pocket quarterback. He's not getting out of those pockets, and his defense is making some plays. We saw that with MBT. And I do look at this, Calgary has all those new defensive starters, but I also do look and say that they took on Hamilton and Toronto right now. Was it Toronto? Yeah,
that's fair.
And so that's the one thing I will go with is this may be just a very difficult start for the Elks as they're trying to come together. Whereas maybe if roles were reversed and they were taking, they had the schedule that the Calgary Stampeders have, things would be looking a little bit better because they're getting to ease into the season. That's maybe one of the positives or silver linings maybe they'll have on this and go, yeah, just wait and see. Because again, I 0-3 start I had thought maybe, and then that week 4 against Ottawa. But it would have just made now all that pressure would go on that Ottawa game because you can't lose that one. You can't go 0-4. So unless they somehow surprise everyone on Thursday next week, and we're doing this next week at this time, going, oh my God, the Elks won in Winnipeg. What's going on? There's going to be a lot of pressure on July 6th. Hernan, before I let you go, any final thoughts? Just anything else that you want to get out there, or are you just ready to go to bed?
I'm having a nice glass of red right now.
Oh, Hernan.
I like that.
Guys, I just think the defense. I truly believe the defense will get better. There's guys, and you guys know this. There's far too much talent on that defense. They're too talented to be playing this way 2 games in. So I do believe they will turn it around. The offense remains until they can do it when it matters, guys. I think it's fair to be critical of them. And I'm not putting this just at the quarterback. It's everything's got to be better when it comes to the offense. So keep the faith. I mean, we're only 2 games in, guys. It does get a lot tougher next week in Winnipeg, but I do believe the coaching staff is the right staff to lead this team. And I do believe the talent that they have is much better than we've seen in the last 4 years. And I think they will eventually start to turn this around. It might take some time, Maddie, and you kind of predicted it. You said they might start slow, but I do believe they will turn it around. And, hey, man, a win in Winnipeg is a long shot, but that's why you play the game, because at any day, any team can win.
Hernan, appreciate the time. Enjoy your night. Look forward to seeing you in the office tomorrow and ESC Afternoons tomorrow, 1 till 3 with you and Gager.
Good, boys.
There's Hernan Salas. Again, you could hear him 1 to 3 right here at Edmonton Sports Talk Monday through Fridays on ESD Afternoons. I just quickly want to run through the stats of the game. Haven't done that yet. For Trey Ford, 27 to 36, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He rushed the ball 3 times for 31 yards and a touchdown. Rankin, 12 carries for 76 yards. Leak, 6 carries for 41 yards. Dunbar Jr. with a great game. 7 targets, caught all of them, 97 yards. Gittins Jr.'s 5 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Mathis, 5 catches for 32 yards. Smith, 3 catches for 30 yards. Rankin also had a catch for a yard. Julian Grant, 2 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown. Leak with 2 catches for 5 yards. I love that the top 3 receivers are Dunbar, Gittins, and Julian Grant. They're your top 3 guys. They should be your 3 biggest receivers. Defensively, Nick Anderson led the way with 8 tackles. Noah Taylor with a quarterback sack. And then Blanchard. We talked about him early. We'll talk about him here as well quickly. 2 for 2, including a 42-yard field goal. So good for him. Got an early field goal, got it in, and calms the waters down for a little bit. Davis Alexander was 20 of 24 before his injury. 254 yards and 3 touchdowns. He rushed the ball once for 11 yards. The Sacramento Gold Miners are very happy about that, but sad that it also didn't continue. But for the Edmonton Elks, very happy it didn't continue. MBT was 6 of 8 for 77 yards. Thomas Erlington, 11 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, leading the way. Philpott, he was great today. 8 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown. Sneed had 4 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown as well. Rambo had 77 yards. The Elks did keep Matt quiet, 2 catches for 31 yards. Burns led the way for them with 7 tackles. They got to Trey 5 times. 5 times. Now, Trey wasn't good enough in ways in that pocket. Wasn't getting out of the pocket. Like, it's funny. Got out of the pocket too soon when he didn't need to. And then when he needed to, was too slow trying to get out of the pocket. It was kind of reversed.
Interesting point, because there were times where it went into, okay, trade, or trade, go do Trey things.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like the reaction or the decision to do that came just a slight
half second
too late, and ultimately cost them. They did a good job making that Montreal front 4 look really good.
Yeah. And the offensive line, just they need to be better too. It's a second straight week where they weren't good enough. And that was a strong point of this team last year. And if they're going to keep playing that way, it is going to be a long season. And in the end, the play calling is just going to have to be Trey, roll out, run, because the O-line's not doing anything, and try to make some plays. And you don't want that. You don't want that type of scrambled offense. You want an actual true offense. So just I don't agree with Hernan in the sense that there's not a lot of positives. I do think there are some when I look at this team. Again, I'll go back. Once again, the defenses can make stops on first downs. It's not first down, giving it up. They can force second and longs. It's about just getting those conversions and getting those early stops. They had that commitment to the run. They were able to run the ball today. I do like that. The kicking game was better.
Once again, even though Blanchard had a poor week 1, you and I were sitting here at this desk saying that special teams was still pretty dang good in week 1, even though Blanchard didn't perform that well. Well, tonight, special teams are by far the shining star for this team. I mean, Blanchard was perfect field goals, perfect point afters, and 5 returns for 107 yards on the kickoff game with Arkell Smith. That is now getting close to being a pattern where they are dominating in the kickoff return game. That's hard to do. Javon Lake's going to break one soon enough in the punt game, but kickoffs, you're not expected to get that many yards. So that is very positive to see. The punting game had a net punting average over 6 punts of 40.8 yards. That's flipping the field position. But Matt, you look at this game, 24 first downs for each team, 52% for each team, second down conversion. I'm not being naive to the fact. Look, if Davis Alexander stays in that game, this is different. We know that, okay? But this is football. Things happen. You don't know what's going to happen. It's out of your control. MBT came into the game, and that's when, hey, things were looking up for the Elks. But that's also when a lot of things started going south in terms of decision making.
And if I will say that I'm glad that Mark Kilam's had this game, and we don't have any post-game audio. It doesn't look like we'll have some for tonight's game. I look forward to hearing what Mark Kilam had to say after this game later, though, because I want to know what he feels about his decision making. Because I'd rather have him have to go through these decisions and possibly learn from them early in the season than have to deal with them later in the season. I'm glad maybe now later in the season he'll sit there in the fourth quarter, 2-possession game early and go, I'm not going to do that short onside kick. I'm going to kick this one. I'm going to trust my defense. I'm going to go for. We're going to get this ball back. I want him to have these growing pains earlier in the season as opposed to later in the season.
But are either of us sitting here saying, fire Mark Kilam? No. Matt, this is expected. This is going to happen. I really wanted to have some audio tonight because I really think that he would come out and be the first person to say, you know what? We took a chance. Maybe next time I would consider things differently.
Yeah.
Or handling things differently. That is a guy, I know Mark well enough to know that's a guy that would put his hand up first and say, you're looking for an answer on who this is on? It's on me. But you're so right in what you're saying. This is a rookie quarterback. This team's 0-2. They're playing against two pretty damn good teams. And yet you can consider yourself being in this game tonight.
Well, it was a 2-possession game late.
Right.
And they had the ball and it was 3rd and 2 and they missed the play
But making these decisions that you might want to have back in week 2 is much better than making them in week 12.
The only fear I have with all these growing pains early, well, there's 2. The one is, like we saw it tonight, we didn't see a great crowd down at Commonwealth Stadium. Officially 14,389 people. That's the less than 15,000 at Commonwealth Stadium tonight.
Yeah.
The forecast doesn't help, but it's clearly a wait and see from the fan base right now.
Forecast doesn't help. Thursday night doesn't help.
No, absolutely. That's in there too. But the other fear is then now the snowball, and we've seen it the last few years, the snowballing of this, and then it just gets in the mind of the players. And there are a lot of new players, but still, it's just there's those other players that are still here. And okay, if they go to Winnipeg and lose, it's 0-3. And then, like I said, and I kind of saw this coming, but there's that pressure of, okay, well, what if you lose to Ottawa and you're 0-4? Now it's BC again. And then is it 0-5? Like this snowball effect that comes from this organization as a whole just desperately needs a win early, so that there's just going to be that little bit of sigh of relief that's going to set them. I think even last year, one thing that's they go to Saskatchewan, they get that win, and then the run game gets going, everything gets going, they start getting their wins. Yeah. After starting 0-7, this organization right now is just so scared at and it's so. Everything's just so, the fans are all worried, and rightfully so. Right now. There's a lot of pressure that started the season, and you just need that one win to give a little bit of breathing room so everyone could just breathe for a quick second. And it's not an easy schedule to go do that, but maybe go surprise everyone in Winnipeg next week.
Can I Teef wrote this in the text inbox, 780-218-9999. Wow, what a way to end the depressing week with the Elks loss. But I'll tell you what, there is some positives. They started looking pretty good at the end of the game. and it's a little too late, but you think the bye week might have hurt their momentum. I honestly think they'll do way better in Winnipeg next week. Also, he says it was great to see a lot of nasties at the tailgate. Maddie, I want to ask you, because he made an interesting point there that they did have a lot of momentum late in the game. Things were going their way. Do you think any of that carries over into the week 3 matchup against Winnipeg, knowing that, yes, they can push the ball downfield? Yes, they can. And Trevor Harris is not a known runner. He's a pocket passer. Now they can maybe pin their ears back and go after. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking Saskatchewan. Zach Collaros. Well, maybe they can't. I don't know. But offensively.
I want to say yes, but my inkling's no, because it's just easy that the BC defense comes out, gets a 2-0, and it's gone. Any momentum you have is gone.
Yeah, I just feel like you cannot deny the fact that Trey Ford was moving out of the pocket. Trey Ford, and I don't know why it took this long in the game to make this happen or make these play calls, but they started pushing the ball downfield.
No, but
right?
I just don't like it would through, what is that, 7 quarters? We haven't seen that from Jordan Maksimic. I'll go this as the positive then. I'll counter myself on that one. Last game, there's reasons for this, but they didn't run the ball. And there was a lot of discussion. You run the ball. Maksimic said this week, I need to do better at, and we need to commit to it. And it happened. So maybe he sits there and goes, you want to know something? I got to do these things different. And does that for next Thursday. So maybe that I'm countering myself on that one. I'm very intrigued to watch Saturday's game, Winnipeg and BC. Because if Winnipeg comes out strong again, I'm terrified for next Thursday. But maybe it was just, Winnipeg's going to come a little, not back to earth. But maybe that was just the first week. They're fresh. They come out and they get BC on a short week. I don't know. I'll be fascinated. The Elks will get the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on a short week next week. They're in Vancouver on Saturday. They got the Owls on a short week too, coming off a bye week. But the Owls played on the Friday. They're getting the Bombers have to go the Saturday to the Thursday route, which is pretty quick.
Can I just say one thing? I've never been a fan of this term garbage time.
Why not?
Did the Montreal Alouettes pull their starters? No. Every starting member of that defense was still on.
But you call differently. You're not going to be as aggressive. You're gonna have some guys further.
So why are you able to push the ball downfield? If it's garbage time and you're playing, I just don't like that term. The Elks moved the ball downfield against them late in the game. Maybe you could say that the Alouettes got a little bit complacent because they had the advantage. I don't know.
Well, can I go? I'll explain a Tecmo game I had recently.
Okay.
I'm going to go in Tecmo. It was Hernan and I was up by like 3 scores. We were in the second half. It was pretty, I knew I had the possessions to work with. So I let him, I didn't care for him marching around the field. I didn't need a rush to get 2 downs or 3 stops and then get the punt. Run the clock. I'm good. Move the ball. I'm good. So maybe there's just a little bit of that. It's just like, yeah, you want to throw the ball. That's cool. Like, take your yardage. We just, the only thing we don't need is that big touchdown at some point, but we've got time. Like, we want to kill it. We're focused on the clock more than you gaining yards on us, because the more that clock ticks, the better it is for us. And you can march down the field. And then when it gets closer to them, maybe we'll get a little bit more. Maybe it's just that mentality.
Yeah, I've never liked it. It's not just in this instance. I've just never liked it, especially if a defense is still playing their starting 12.
It's just one of those where you see prevent defense and it never prevents anything, but it's a prevent defense.
Yeah, I hate prevent defense.
And that's and that's where it's like, I think that's why it's garbage time.
It's such an oxymoron.
Absolutely. The Owls played a little bit more of a prevent defense and it allowed the Elks to go and score points, and it was garbage time. Final thoughts for you, Jay?
Decisions in the second half when the game, hey, MBT's in, Davis Alexander's out. The offense is moving the ball. Wow, the offense is scoring. Decisions after that, I think, didn't give this chance the fair opportunity they deserved to mount a comeback. And those decisions, I guarantee, will be learned from and hopefully can help this team move in the right direction. Heading into next week, this is another very tough matchup in Winnipeg. But you know me, Matt. I'm not going to just snowball this season and say, "Well, it's over." Yeah, they suck. No, you know what? They didn't play their best game tonight. The defense has not played their best yet at all. The offense certainly has not. So they can only improve from here.
16 more games left this season. The next one, next Thursday, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Elks will head to Winnipeg for that one. Great Goal kickoff show will be 5:30 that day. We'll jump into your show with Reed. We'll jump into that from 5:30 until 6:30 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, which is presented by Play Alberta. The Edmonton Elks, they fall to the Montreal Alouettes 38-28. They fall to 0-2 on this season. They make it close. Defense couldn't get stops early. Offense had their struggles. Coaching mistakes, they happened tonight. The Elks, though, at one point were 2 possessions down with the ball at midfield. So they were in the conversation of, are we going to, could they do it? Could they do it? On behalf of Jay, I am Matt. Thank you for tuning into the Green and Gold postgame show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Coming up 6 o'clock, it is the Nielsen Show. We got the EST Hangout, Lock Shop, Oil Stream, EST Afternoons, and the Reed Wilkins Show. With
I got to see you
tomorrow.
again in 12 hours.
Less.
11 hours and 40 minutes.
Something
42
like that.
minutes.
Yeah, we'll have fun on the Hangout with Tommy. We'll get Tommy's take on this.
What a life.
You're just spending so much time with me. I also beat the Americans today in volleyball, which was a great day.
Huge day.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in once again. On behalf of Jay, I'm Matt. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will talk with you tomorrow.